Leon, how did you find Carnivore?
All right. So my health journey started back in 2020. I was using an app called 8Fit, and it had like a meal plan in there. So basically, I started with the paleo diet, and I did that for about a year, and I had some success with the paleo diet. But eventually, I was still having a lot of trouble losing, a lot of belly fat around my waist and stuff like that. So I started to look up some YouTube videos. I was watching Dr. Eric Berg, and I learned about keto, and I started with that. And I did that for a little bit. And I lost a lot of weight really fast with that, probably too much. And I think I lost some muscle as well. And then I just started to do some more research, and I'm not sure who I came across first, whether it's probably Dr. Anthony Chafee, but I was like learning, watching some videos about carnivore. So, I decided to do that because, like, eating vegetables with me when I was doing keto, I was kind of getting bloated a lot. Obviously, having to make multiple trips to go to the bathroom. So, and also, I'm kind of like a person who likes to keep things simple. So, cutting out vegetables and not having to prepare stuff like that, I thought carnivore would be a good way to go. So I decided to try that. Um, and that's basically what I started carnivore in August of 2021. I've been doing it since, so I'm coming up on 4 years.
Oh, wow. And so going in, when you were doing paleo, then keto, and then eventually carnivore,
Mhm.
um, the initial reason for doing it was simply weight loss.
Yeah, I mean, I had weight loss. I mean, I had other issues. I had lots of anxiety. I don't think that was necessarily because I wasn't drinking coffee then. I actually didn't start drinking coffee until after I started keto. Or, I was always a tea drinker. So I had anxiety pretty much most of my life. That was something that was kind of dealing with. Acne problems, the weight loss, brain fog, not being able to really think clearly sometimes. Those were like my most common issues. My health really did not, get really bad. I wasn't dealing with, I know I had some insulin resistance at one point, but even then I didn't know what that was. I didn't learn about that until I started to watch a lot of these YouTube videos. So,
Mm. Right.
yeah.
So you started August 2021.
Mhm.
What was the realization for you following your start date that you thought, okay, this is working for me?
Yeah, I mean, so definitely, just even with keto, one of the things I noticed was, my like fitness levels improved. So that, and then transitioning to carnivore, it was even better. I mean, that was the thing that I noticed the most. Like, fitness was definitely improving. I wasn't having anxiety. I wasn't having the brain fog. I was having more mental clarity. And I've always enjoyed eating meat and stuff. So I just, that's something I just felt that kind of worked for me. So I wanted to, just keep on doing it because I wasn't having any issues.
Right. And so you've gone from August 2021 straight through just maintaining carnivore.
Hmm. Yeah, primarily.
And so what's the thing that's really kept you on this? It's just that you feel better when you're exercising, when you're working out. Is it body composition? Is it the fact the anxiety's gone?
Just honestly, I mean, it's really like a lot of things. Like the whole health journey. just from actually removing a lot of the ultra processed foods and a lot of the added sugars. My life has really kind of taken a turn for the better. So, when I started, before I met my wife, which was just like in 2012, and that was kind of when I started this whole health journey. It just kind of things kind of added on as I started to do things for myself and kind of take care of my body and my health, right? So, I started with paleo, then I did keto, and then I went into carnivore. And then with carnivore, just for me, I think some of the benefits is that, it's very easy to do. I kind of like simple things, quick and easy. So that's kind of worked for me. I feel like I'm getting the most amount of nutrition that I can, because it's very bioavailable. And I'm not having any issues with like the bloating with the vegetables. Like even, when there was a time I tried to add back some vegetables, it just wasn't really working for me. So I kind of felt like I was breaking out again. So it was a lot of those things.
Right. So, what does your wife think of you doing this?
Oh, she's fine. She's not, I mean, she does eat a lot of what I cook. So, but she still does some mixed meals, if she's out with friends and stuff like that. So she's not strict carnivore, but I mean, for the most part, she is eating a lot of stuff that I eat, and she thinks it's fine. It's working for me. I'm not having any health issues. I'm not overweight. I don't have high blood pressure. For the most part, I don't break out too much. Like acne, I'm usually okay. I'm able to work better because I can think more clearly. So even that has been good for me, and yeah, just overall fitness. I mean, I'm pretty much at the weight I was when I was my healthiest, when I was younger. So, and it doesn't really go up or go down too much. It's kind of always around the same. So.
Right. And so what is your eating pattern day to day? Like, how many times do you eat, and what are the meals made up of?
Yeah. So typically it's 2 meals a day, usually. And I do some fasting, so it could be like 16-8. Sometimes it could be 18-6. There was a time when I was trying to gain some weight. So if I'm trying to gain weight, or because I kind of felt I was just a little bit too skinny. I was doing sometimes like during the summer, I'll do 3 meals or whatever. So Monday through Friday is pretty much the same. Usually, I'll have like a 10-ounce ribeye. I'll have like 4 eggs, boiled eggs usually, and then I'll have recently it's like a pound of ground beef. So I'll just have that while I'm at work. And then on the weekends, if you look at my feed on Instagram, I usually post a lot of my food stuff. And then you'll see some of that. I'll usually do 2 meals on the weekend, so we'll have like steak, eggs, bacon, scallops. I eat a lot of that. Scallops is one of the things I like to eat a lot. Hamburgers, just different things. So.
Yeah. And you mentioned being at work. Has anyone at work kind of commented, like, why you only eat the non-green stuff?
um, I mean, my manager, he is. No one's really kind of questioned to that. I've never really heard them say, "Oh, how come you don't eat any vegetables?" But they usually, like if I say, "Oh, I'm just eating meat," they're like kind of shocked that it's just that. Or but a lot of the times, when I'm cooking something in the office, like and someone comes in, they're like, "Oh man, it smells so good. What are you eating?" And then I'll say, "Oh, it's steak." So it's but I haven't really had anyone who said anything else or anything negative to about it, really. I'm not going to go back to ever eating ultra processed foods. Definitely, I always try to avoid seed oils as much as I can. So yeah, eating this way is fine. Just meat, and I don't feel bloated. I feel good, have lots of energy. If I eat a meal, sometimes 6, 7, 8 hours later, I might not even be hungry. So, and if I'm busy, I could skip a meal and I could go to the next day, and it's not a problem. You know, so it works out definitely.
So, do you find that before you started carnivore and before you started this journey altogether, that you would have a lot of food noise throughout the day?
What do you mean, like like cravings and
Yeah,
stuff like that? Yeah, I mean, I think when I was eating before, prior to this health journey, I never knew about like SAD or anything like that, or, any particular diets. I was just eating whatever I felt like I craved, So my old way of eating, I used to eat a lot of sandwiches or, chips and, used to drink too. Even now I don't drink, but yeah, I mean, before, you would eat something, then you would be craving something else. Where here, eating this way, I can eat and I'm not thinking about food until like way later, right? So yeah, I don't have a lot of that cravings or, dealing with that kind of stuff anymore.
right. So if someone said to you, Leon, I want to give this carnivore eating a try, um, how do I get started? What would you recommend they do to get started?
First thing I would say is cut out the ultra processed foods and seed oils. Start with that. Definitely try to do a inventory or audit of your pantry. Remove everything that's in a box bag. Anything that has anything with ingredients that you either have to look up or you can't pronounce. So, and I don't think jumping into it, like my mistake when I started carnivore, was just diving right into it. I think because of the insulin resistance that I had. And this was kind of talked about in dark calories, about like maybe losing protein so quickly when you have a lot of insulin resistance and you go very, very low carb. So I think I experienced that. I wish I would have just kind of transitioned into it. So I would think like with someone, you have to kind of figure out where you're starting at in regard to how many carbs you're eating, and just kind of cut out the ultra processed foods first and then try to reduce your carb intake, maybe gradually over weeks, and then see how you feel, and then start kind of transitioning more into a meat way of eating.
Nice. So if people want to reach out to you, Leon, what's the best way to get in contact?
Instagram is usually most active right on there.
No worries. Well, I'll link to your Instagram in the show notes. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing your story, Leon. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on.